a long week, a week of many meetings, both inside of work and outside of work. But this day last week, last Saturday, I addressed on behalf of TUSC a demonstration from the pavement outside Ian Duncan Smith's office in North Chingford. That demonstration was organised by DPAC, the Disabled People Against Cuts campaign. And during the course of that demonstration, testimony was given by campaigners, by relatives, by disabled people themselves, of the effect of this brutal sanctions regime and the work capability assessment brought in by the previous Labour government, that these counter-reforms that they're having on the most vulnerable people in our society. On Monday night, I attended the only hustings in Chingford that took place in Woodford, at which Ian Duncan Smith didn't even turn up to, having said he would, to speak to a meeting packed out of 160 people. And I think the arrogance of that man and of the ideas and of the class and the party he stands for is only matched by the incomprehension on their part of the anger and of the search that our class of the 99% are feeling in our quest for a political alternative to their misery. And during the course of that hustings meeting, the relative, and it's been in the national news, of David Clapson, his sister, Jill Thompson, recounted the horror story of what happened to her brother. Mr. Clapson, a former soldier and type 1 diabetic, died in July after his benefits were cut through the job centre employing a sanction against him. He had no food in his stomach, £3.44 in the bank, and no money on his electricity card, leaving him unable to operate his fridge where he kept his insulin. You know, an absolute horrific story in the 5th richest country on the planet, and we are the only party, the 6th largest party in this election, with a greater number of candidates combined compared with the SNP and Plaid Cymru combined. And as has been said, whatever the outcome on May the 8th, whatever the colour or the hue, there will be an anti-austerity agenda pushed forward thereafter. Now, I think I'm personally very proud to be part of this, the biggest left of Labour electoral challenge since 1945, and particularly to be following through, as has been said, of the Whips Cross 5, and I think somebody in this room once referred to us as looking like an ageing boy band. One of the pictures that was taken in the, I think it was you, Ken, actually, in the elections of one of the Whips Cross 5. I'm looking at his ear with this young one today. And it's quite appropriate that the health service should feature and that there should be a health worker candidate. And in particular, with the crisis that our local health service has seen over these recent weeks. Bart's Trust, the biggest trust in the country, with 14,000 workers, is facing no less than a meltdown within the context of a crisis in the NHS nationally. A £30 billion black hole is projected over the course of the next 4 years. 4 of the leaders, the Chief Executive, the Chair, the Finance Director and the Senior Nurse Advisor of 30 years standing, have departed. Thank you very much. The Chief Executive had a £280,000 salary. There's been attempts to find out what his walkaway money has been, but we haven't been able to do that. But underlying and underscoring the crisis, and the CQC report people will have heard, reporting that's been on the national news, has highlighted the problems of compromising of patient care, the bullying that's taken place of health workers. It's been at pains to emphasise that health workers themselves are not at fault, that they've had to fight to overcome all the barriers that have been put in place by the counter-reforms and these austerity measures put forward by the Barts leaders themselves who are now departing. And the elephant in the room is, of course, PFI, a Labour initiative, I'm sad to say, and I'm a privatised health worker. A £96 million debt is what we're saddled with currently in the NHS. Whips Cross particularly has got a shadow cast over its future, having been brought into this merger. And all these mergers are not clinically driven, as people will in this room understand, they're cash driven. And that shadow is cast over us. I called for that debt to be cancelled and scrapped at the hustings on Monday night. Our opponent in the Labour Party and in the Greens, and the Greens, by the way, and as Paula has mentioned, have carried a little bit of an anti-austerity view at the moment, but in Brighton, where tested and where they've had influence, they've carried out 50 million worth of cuts. Both the Greens and the Labour Party, at the hustings, called for PFI to be restructured and to be renegotiated. Let's be absolutely clear. As a party, as a class, if that debt prevails, it will continue, as it has done, to destroy jobs and erode patient care and lead potentially to the rundown and degrading of Whips Cross Hospital. That debt has to be scrapped, and the people in this room and the movement of the trade unions in Waltham Forest will have a central role to play in ensuring that it is scrapped. Finally, I'd like to conclude just on the basis of this campaign and what it has meant. I was asked by a scribe in the Ilford Recorder the other day to be drawn on what the numbers would be in relation to our votes. And I said to her that, I won't be drawn on that. It's impossible to say. I'm standing in a safe Tory seat. But what I would say is that we have managed to punch through the media blackout. We've had, as has been seen, this breath of fresh air, a clear, independent, working class banner, scotching the lie that there is any basis for cuts to be made whatsoever. And amongst my own members at Whips Cross Hospital, I advertised that broadcast and encouraged people to watch it. And I said to this journalist, I said, the reaction I got from the 57-year-old supervisor in the NHS was, Len, I did see it and I watched it several times. I haven't voted in the recent years, but I will be voting for Nancy Taff on this occasion. Another health worker said to me, Len, I didn't even recall having had a discussion with her actually, old Labour's values of our class interest, I saw that broadcast and I too will be voting as well. Another worker bought a copy of the Socialist newspaper off me, who I'd offered to him over the course of 10 years. First time he'd ever bought it. Not only that, he told me he has got a TUSC window bill up in his window. So I think there is the success already. So, comrades, thanks for your time. I'll say that I think we should follow through in these last couple of days or so of the campaign, push this out as far as we can, and lay down a marker. And by the way, there is a leaflet I thought I had with me. There is a Trades Council initiative called on the 3rd of June. It's a few weeks away yet. But the Trades Council is the local TUC representing thousands of workers across this borough. We've successfully put forward a motion at the Trades Council that a demonstration be called outside Whips Cross Hospital on Wednesday the 3rd of June, demanding that PFI is not our debt and it should be scrapped. I'd invite everybody in this room to for this demonstration, family, friends and workmates, and come along. Let's ensure that our NHS is reclaimed for working people, that those who run it, that those who rely on it are in charge, and that the fat cat profiteers are kicked out. Thanks very much.